Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special episode of the podcast. I have with me bad boy TJ Benson, owner of Magnum Pro Wrestling. We are excited to have you on here.
Excited to be here.
It's kind of, I'll be honest, kind of nerve wracking because we didn't think we'd make it to this point. And hey, now we're almost at 100. We're on the road to 500 though.
There you go.
And then I got you on the show, and we have some other people coming on. So it's a good time. So I want to talk about you. I want to talk about Magnum. I want to talk about like a lot of things. So, my kind of question for you is, so you now own Magnum. You were a wrestler. Like, how was that process for you? Like, how did you get into wrestling?
So I mean, kind of traditionally, like a lot of other people. Unfortunately, I had a buddy that would always beg me to come to shows, and for whatever reason, I just never went. And obviously, I think a lot of people can relate to that. Of you always hear like Omaha has wrestling, and then they go, and then it's like, wow, this is like good. Like this is actually good. So then they keep coming back, and it's like, so I've always preached is just getting you in the door is the hardest part of professional wrestling. But I guarantee if I get you to come once, you're going to come every time after that. So, one night, I don't know why, I just decided to go, and I went, and I was like, wow, this is actually fun. I wish I would have went a long time ago. And that was about 9 years ago. And then kind of transitioned into, some of the people there knew who I was, and they're like, hey, you should start wrestling. And I don't know, I just never did it. And then one day I just went to a show early and started training. I was like, man, I kind of want to do this. So then, Jason Strife started training me in pro wrestling, and he actually wanted to be an MMA fighter. So I started training him in that aspect. So we just kind of traded training, and then just stuck at the hip, and rest is history.
Gotcha. So growing up, were you a wrestling fan at all?
Yeah. So I've been watching wrestling since, I want to say, the day I was born. But when I was young, obviously I'm a small guy. I've always been very small. So I just thought that, man, you have to be, you have to go to WCW. You have to go to WWF. Like there is, though, to me, I didn't know what independent wrestling was. I didn't know. I was like, man, I'm not 200 pounds, so I'm not going to make it. And fighting locally, MMA came up sooner. When I was 16, I started fighting. So it was like I just started fighting. And then, as we get older, wrestling kind of got put on the back burner. But, now we're here. So.
Yeah, and that actually brings up something I was curious about. Like how did you get into the MMA world? So you started training at 16. Like what? Kind of same thing. What got you interested in MMA?
So that's funny. I just saw The Ultimate Fighter when I was like 15. A reality show and MMA, and so started watching that, and then kind of like every good fighting story, I was getting bullied when I was younger, and a couple of the guys claimed to be my friends, but now looking back, they were just bullies. And they actually ended up, one went and fought, he lost, the other one went and fought and lost. So it's kind of like, hey, if I go fight and I win and you guys lost, you can't bully me no more. And then that's what happened. I won, and I just never looked back. If I lost, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. But,
right.
Just watching on TV, and then, like I said, there was just an avenue to go be able to do it right down the street, and I did that. And then, like I said, just kind of fell in line with. Eventually, I started pro boxing, and then I started professional wrestling. So it just all tied in hand.
Gotcha. So you kind of did everything at once. You did wrestling, you did boxing, you did MMA, just all together. So wow, just like a fighting workhorse there.
Exactly.
Shut up and sit down. Picture this. You're someone that's doing everything right by everyone else's standards, but you hate every single second of it. You feel yourself harboring your true potential. And then someone comes to you noticing your full potential. And that's exactly what happened to me. My manager, my representation, Joe DeSanti, helped me realize my full potential. And that full potential makes me realize that I don't need people like you. That's right. I'm talking about all 4.5 of you. You 4.5 marks. being obsessive over me, Big Chain, More Than a Conqueror, Alvin Falcone, especially Mr. Big Baby himself, Mr. Tyler. Everybody love baby. Everybody love baby. 4.5 marks. I don't like you. I don't respect you. And the feeling is mutual. But one of these days, I'm gonna show you why you must respect not only me, but my representation. And that night is gonna be September 29th, live in Omaha, Nebraska, when I defeat Brandon Nitro for the Top Gun Championship. And then you, all 4.5 of you, will realize that me, Alvin Falcone, I am more than a conqueror. Boom. Shut up and sit down.
Nice. Very cool. So with Strife started training you for pro wrestling, and then you trained him. Quick question on that: what's your record in like MMA or boxing?
I don't know off the top of my hand. I know I have probably 70 to 75 fights. Man, as silly as it sounds, when I was an amateur, I was fighting at least once a month, sometimes twice a week, sometimes 3 times in a week. Like I said, you just go down and just fight all the time. And I was training a little bit, but it was I wasn't really getting any better. I was so dumb that I didn't know I was bad. I just had so much confidence. I just beat everybody. And then when I turned professional, then, I'm fighting. I turned professional as 18, so I'm fighting grown men who it's their day job. And I started losing a lot. So, same thing with boxing. You always hear, MMA fighters go over to boxing and you only got to worry about punches, but it's a completely different game there. So, and then obviously I did bare knuckle, which is a lot more rough on the body than MMA or boxing, and then did pro Muay Thai. So, all that plus wrestling. My body shut down pretty quick. I'm getting pretty old pretty fast. So
it's all hard work on the body. It's tough. Like I get it. So you trained with Strife. You joined Magnum. So what's like? You were the longest reigning tag team champions. Was it with JC Slater?
That was with Jaden Drago.
Okay.
I was never, there's a very common misconception too. TJC was never Magnum Pro Tag Team Champion. So I was with him, and we were a team called Bulletproof, which was named after Jason Strife, the Bulletproof Tiger. I actually started as a security guard for Jason Strife. That was my way to work into, they put me on screen right away. I was out there in the crowd, didn't know a lot of moves, didn't understand psychology and a lot of stuff. But I was just out there learning as we went. I was right next to the side the whole time, getting my face out there.
Right.
And then, made my debut, went on to be tag team champions. We actually faced Adam Rose from NXT in maybe my 5th match ever, I would guess. Probably one of my first 10 matches. So yeah, they kind of threw me to the wolves, and it was definitely sink or swim for me.
Was that before or after he went to NXT?
That would have been after he did his main roster.
Gotcha.
So he did NXT main roster, and then fresh off of that, we were one of the first people. And I'm pretty proud of Magnum in that aspect of, Shelton Benjamin had his very last match versus Fowler.
Oh.
And that was on a Friday night, and by Tuesday he was signed to SmackDown. So, a lot of guys are coming and going, and we're picking them up, whether they're on the way out back to WWE or on the way this way. So
and it's definitely I've noticed like seeing some like the older stuff that you've done, like you've had Mustafa Ali versus Devin Thomas, you've had AJ Styles versus Jason Strife, like just a lot of like unique and great talent talent that you wouldn't, like we kind of touched upon earlier, like you don't expect Omaha to have wrestling. And you had all these big names: Shelton Benjamin, AJ, JTG. Recently, we're gonna have the world's champion EC3 and Tyler Breeze. So I'm still kind of learning myself about Magnum. So what's the history behind Magnum that you know? I know Strife was the owner.
Mm-hmm.
Like how did he start that? How did he build it up, and how did you take ownership of it?
Unfortunately, I don't know exactly when he started. I know a couple of details,
Sure.
But I just don't want to mess them up.
Okay.
I know he did one show in California, and then he did some shows here, and those were in Council Bluffs. There was a big thing with the Athletic Commission used to look over the events in Nebraska. So they would have to do exactly what we have to do for MMA. It would be blood work, eye exam, all that stuff, a physical for all the wrestlers. We'd have to have an ambulance, EMT. You had to run it exactly like a boxing or MMA show. And that's just so they can make their money. They get a percentage of ticket sales. Obviously, it's worth it to them when WWE comes here. Now they're making $10,000 to $20,000 per show at the time they come. So making sure it's legit. But they eventually agreed that they didn't need to be overlooking professional wrestling. So when they did away with that, then we came back over to Omaha and ran at Sokol and the Ralston Arena and stuff like that, Ramada Inn. So it was a lot easier for us to transition into that. And then Jason Strife actually moved to Des Moines, Iowa for about 1 year, I believe he did. And so it was very hard for him to do day-to-day operations when he's not here, to figure out these sponsors, hand out flyers, stuff like that. So I slowly took over that. I tried to help him with production and things like that, promoting the show, handling the talent. So he would get into the show the day of, I'll be there at 10 a.m. and then he'd have to work his day job and wouldn't get there till 5. So I'd have to get everybody set up the ring and do everything. So I felt like for a better part of 6, 7, 8 months, I ran Magnum. And he always knew that I took great pride in that, it's a very, very, very stressful job. I don't think anybody will understand how stressful it is. And, he would get burned out or he'd have great ideas and I'd always have to kind of reel him back into reality. So there was a couple times I offered to buy the company from him and kind of do my own thing. And, but that was his baby. He never wanted to let it go. And then unfortunately he passed away and he decided to leave it to a handful of us. So there's more than just 2 owners, but like I said, just kind of, we'll keep it at that.
Yeah,
but,
sure. No, I got you.
But like I said, so there's a lot of hands in the pot and they all do different jobs and stuff like that. So,
gotcha. Yeah, I didn't realize you had done, you were so involved in like the backstage stuff of it. So yeah, after his unfortunate passing, like you and Logan were the ones announced as running it. So I just always assumed it was just you two, but we don't need to get into like who else is in it. It's
very hard for me to lie, but I'm very good at only telling people what I think they should know. So again, I don't want to just give credit to me or Logan. Honestly, there's not a lot of stuff I've done. So like I said, you gave me credit and say thank you, TJ, to a lot of things that I had nothing to do with. So I appreciate that. But yeah, I'm just kind of the cleanup man. I'm really good at yelling at people. So, if they mess up, I got to let them know. Or if they're slacking, I got to let them know. So like I said, it's very unfortunate what happened to Jason Strife. But like I said, unfortunately, we realize that everybody is replaceable no matter what. It's just like CM Punk saying, he's just another spoke on the wheel. Like the show is going to go on. If somebody gets sick or injured, I'm sorry, that sucks, but the show's going to go on. If we lose a cameraman, we'll find a new one. It is what it is, but that's the harsh reality. Is it's always, if something happens to me tomorrow, it's going to go on next week and so on and so forth. That's just the way it is.
Right.
Nobody is more important than anybody else, but that's life.
Yeah, that's life. It's a great quote there. So keep that, remember that, ladies and gentlemen. So I don't know how much of this you can speak on, but any future plans or goals for Magnum coming up, or even for yourself? Do you ever think about getting back in the ring, taking on Jay Fowler?
Jay Fowler is getting really, really good. Not that I've ever been better than him. He's on a different level. We've wrestled a handful of times,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't keep up back then. I don't think I'd be able to keep up now. So, again, I get asked this question every single show.
Mm-hmm.
I think that my role now is being away from the ring. I can benefit more people outside of the ring and
Mm-hmm.
telling them what I think they should have done or what they did do very well, and how to run the show and just worry about that. So I think it would be a disservice if I stepped into the ring and did other things. That's not what Jason Strife, again, was phenomenal at running a show, wrestling 3 times a night,
Yeah.
doing everything. He had his hands in so many different pots. It was insane. I don't think anybody could ever fill those shoes. As for the future, I don't know anything about that. It's I just take it one show at a time, honestly. There's a lot of other guys, and they're very excited. Again, Jason Strife, huge plans to do this and that. You can definitely tell that he has a huge influence on these guys and these wrestlers or these backstage people. They have huge dreams, which are not impossible, but I'm just more focused on let's get through this show and then next show and then the next show. So unfortunately, I'm just looking to get through the end of the year. I don't have 6 months plans or 1 year plans or there's obviously some ideas I've always had. Like I said, if I was ever to buy Magnum, or start my own show was a topic too, because I just really wanted to do a show back then, see if I could handle it. So I'll rent all the Magnum stuff, I'll cover up all the logos, I want to try all these new ideas. If they don't work, you had nothing to do with it. I'll fail. If they work, then you can use those ideas, because I really want to be a partner, but I understood not wanting to give up his baby. I have my own business, and I wouldn't willingly hand it over, obviously, to anybody else in the world, but if something happened, it's ready for the next person to take care of it. So
Perfect. And then let's speaking of your own business, so Championship Fitness, which is where we're recording from. How long have you had this here? Because I tried to train with Strife. I couldn't keep up at the time. But that was my first knowledge of this, of your own business and all this. So how long have you ran it?
We have been here, I believe, 3.5 years.
Okay.
And he was here for probably a good 1.5 years. I don't remember the exact date. Yeah, maybe I've had about two years or so, I would guess. And yeah, he did very, very well here, especially, it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, which a lot of people like and some people don't like, but I've heard nothing but good things about, the location. It was perfect world scenario. If he just messaged me like, hey, I found this building, and it's kind of like, oh, here we go again. And then we showed up and looked at it, and before you know it, keys are in our hand. We're ready to go. And I've posted a couple of those screenshots. Remember in those days how scared he was, but I believed in him and he believed in me. And then, it was just, it was perfect. It was right before COVID really hit. So unfortunately, I couldn't get mats or heavy bags or any of my equipment. So I was paying rent for 3-4 months, and I couldn't even run my business that I worked so hard to get. But it was good for us because guys could come in here and get ring time, and we weren't doing shows. So it really started up YouTube and Patreon, and we were still making money, and guys were still getting better when the rest of the world was shut down. And so it was really a blessing in disguise. For a lot of those people, they could get trained. We had new stars when we were ready to come back to shows, and said everybody was just getting better.
Perfect. Well, I think that's kind of all the questions I got. So we got the Magnum show on the 29th, and we have over the top. We have the over the top match. We have EC3 Tyler Breeze versus Jay Fowler for the Magnum title.
Yeah, if you didn't know, I don't book the matches because a Royal Rumble, 2 former WWE stars are on it, a steel cage match, a street fight, and a Top Gun championship match. It's
a lot.
That's like 6 months of pay-per-views right there, and that's all in one night. So
it's gonna be a good night. it's gonna be a good night. We're excited for it. I know a lot of other people that are excited for the show. Anything else you'd like to plug? Championship Fitness?
Nope. Championship Fitness open 7 days a week. I have a couple kids in here. They want to be pro wrestlers. So, learning the real stuff of self-defense and kickboxing and grappling and footwork and all kinds of little stuff. I think the hardest part for me was to learn the psychology and stuff like that. I had all the moves. Didn't know why I did them. Didn't know why they made sense. We talked about promos earlier. So, yeah, just getting all that stuff together and look at all very high-level guys, or even if they're not professional fighters, they still know. Daniel Bryan's very good at a lot of things, and he never fought. Stuff like that. Even Aleister Black is probably a better kickboxer than me, and to my knowledge, he's never even fought before. So a lot of those guys have very, very good techniques.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, I thank you for giving us the interview. I thank you for everything, having us on a part of Magnum. But that's all the questions I got. That's our interview. Remember, like, share, subscribe. Check out Magnum. Check out Championship Fitness. Check out everything in the link below. And most importantly, if that check bounces, so do you.